Right, guys, I've played Wilds for over 100 hours, a bit too much. And yeah, here's my review for it, I guess. Let's start with combat. This game introduced the focus system, and it feels really good to use. You can like aim attacks when attacking the monster. It allows for things like being able to turn during attacks, like when you true charge slash on the greatsword. It's like you basically can't miss it now, right? Like you can turn to hit the monster. There's also a new mechanic called wounding that came with it. So basically you attack a monster part, and the more you hit it, you can place a wound. And you can do a unique focus attack on that wound, which will basically CC stagger the monster, do a crazy amount of damage to it. These attacks are really strong. I think they're a bit overpowered, but they do feel very satisfying to do. So I don't think it's too much of a problem. Just like, yeah, the hunter combat in this game is amazing. I'd say this is some of the best combat for the player in the series, but you do feel a bit OP. Is that a problem? That's for you to decide. And I haven't actually played all the weapons yet, but all the ones I have played, they feel insanely satisfying to use. And it's like, some of the weapons I don't really use too much in the old games. I'm actually like using them now because they feel really good to use. Like, I think heavy bowgun feels amazing in this game, and I've never really liked heavy bowgun. But I've heard like the other weapons, even the ones I haven't used from friends, that they're also amazing. The only weapon actually I'm not a huge fan of is longsword, which I've used a fuck ton of. And I'm not a fan of it because the optimal way to play it right now is just like triangle R2 when you have red gauge, and I think it's really boring. But if you play it non-optimally, it still feels really good to use. So weapons are good. The weapons are good. I think the monsters themselves, they have a lot more uniqueness to them with attacks in combat. I feel like they feel like a good improvement from past titles. As I said, they are too easily CC'd, and the health pools feel like they could just be slightly higher. I don't think it's too much of a concern, as like, it's base game right. I imagine title updates and mass rank, we're just gonna get absolutely destroyed again. So, they will probably be addressed, and the difficulty will get more challenging. But yes, some monsters feel a lot more unique compared to past titles. I feel this with like Rathalos and Gore, especially. I think the secret is a great addition to combat. However, sometimes I don't really feel fully in control of it, and it has got me killed. But I mean, in general, it's cute, and I think it's a great way to like heal, sharpen, utility stuff. Very nice addition, I think. Better than the. I'd say it's an upgrade from the Palamute. Now, one problem I do have is they marketed having two weapons being a big thing, but I've never felt the need to use it. It just kind of feels like it's there. So I hope they release monsters that they almost force you to swap to another weapon. Maybe it's got a different element, right? Like a la Tryon. Because then it would feel more useful to do. But right now, it mostly feels like it just breaks the flow of combat and has no real value. Unless like, one, you just want to swap because, you just want to use something else, which is fine. Or two, you're using something like a hunting horn and you want to buff people. But like, other than that, I just think there needs to be more reason in terms of like monster design to swap. But yes, overall, the combat in this game feels great. Some of the best they've done. Now, I want to talk about the story. The story in this game is a huge step up from previous titles. It actually surprised me how good it was. Considering Monster Hunter games don't usually focus on story, I think this one was very exciting. Whilst the writing in some places it was like questionable and a bit cheesy, the cutscenes and dialogue were cinema. Definitely some of the hypest writing in the series. It gets me excited for the future of the game's story. I want to specifically point out that your hunter talking in the cutscenes makes the story feel a lot more immersive and better. It 100% makes cutscenes a lot more exciting and interesting to watch. I don't see a reason to not have the hunter talk in future games. Now I think the story gets insanely good once you reach Wyveria, which is the 5th area in the game. The lore around that place is amazing. It gives a lot of potential for future monsters. And then the part when you get to Guardian Arkveld and Soshia, it's just pure peak cinema writing in terms of like a Monster Hunter story. And that's like only low rank as well. Like I remember I finished that and I was like, holy shit, that was only low rank. That wasn't even high rank. So be excited for the future, especially when we get stuff like more Guardian monsters, Elder Dragons, even Black Dragons, I imagine. So yeah, story is cinema. Definitely recommend watching it for the first playthrough. A bit cheesy at times, but that's just Monster Hunter. I think it was really hype. Okay, now on to the maps. The maps in this game are very huge and very pretty. I think the Scarlet Forest and Wyveria are especially amazing to look at. Also, each map is interconnected, which I think is cool as it somewhat feels open worldy. However, nothing happens in these connections between the maps. So, as sort of a critique, in future updates, I want certain monsters, you know, invaders maybe, that could travel between the maps using these areas. And it sort of gives you a reason to travel through them. Maybe even you fight the monster there. Because right now, it's just kind of like, it's like a cosmetic way. It just exists to sort of say, oh, the game's semi-open world. But it's in gameplay, it's not. So yeah, there's like 5 maps so far. You have the Windwall Plains, Scarlet Forest, Oilwell Basin, Ice Shard Cliffs, and Wyveria. And I think my favorite is probably the Scarlet Forest. Maybe because I'm nostalgic, since a lot of Monster Hunter games start in forest areas. But in my opinion, it's just really pretty and really well designed. I'm a really big fan of like trying to jump off like the really high dam area and landing a falling attack on the monster, or maybe even just the giant trees in the middle of the forest. But it reminds me a lot of the big tree in the ancient forest in World. The giant cliff you can jump off in Elder's Recess as well, and then like the giant ass mountain in Coral Highlands. It's like stuff like that which I think really, they feel good. They just feel good. And I think the Scarlet Forest is good at that. And that sort of like leads me into my next criticism, is that verticality in combat or just in general doesn't feel utilized enough. I think we have these huge open worlds and we need more giant high areas to jump off and hit the monsters. Like, they kind of feel like landmarks, right? As I said about the tree in Ancient Forest and like the big mountains in Coral Highlands, like they almost feel like landmarks. You climb up them, you can like jump off and hit monsters. I said in another video that the Ruined Pinnacle map in Generations Ultimate, I would love a map like that in Wilds. Like, imagine being where Valstrax's nest is and just jumping off and slamming onto a monster, right? It would be so cool. That doesn't feel fully realized to me in this game. Obviously, that's just my opinion, but I think the game would greatly benefit from something cool like that. Another criticism I have, or maybe it's not a criticism, but more a realization, is that whilst the maps are huge, the Sacred makes them basically feel like the same size map as something in World. So it's like artificially bigger. But I don't think this is really a problem, it's just something you kind of realize when you play the game. I do also think that the Ice Shard Cliffs, they feel a bit too enclosed for what the game is supposed to be. Maybe that's just a personal thing, but like I kind of feel like the levels in the game should be more open, like considering you have these secrets and it's like supposed to be a big open world and stuff. But yeah, maybe it's just a personal thing, but I think the Ice Shard Cliffs could be a bit bigger and more open up. I would say I think the maps are great. They could just be a bit better in places, but yeah, I'd say they're good. They're good. Okay, let's talk about new monster designs. Maybe older ones as well. We'll start with the weaker monsters in the food chain. I don't want to like put too much time into each monster, as fair amount. So I'll do like a brief sort of overview for them. Chatacabra, funny looking frog monster. Good tutorial, I'd say. Introduces us to wounding, monster telegraphs, stuff like that. Chemitrice is our funny chicken monster. It's nice to have a chicken at the start of the game, and it introduces us to tail cutting and elemental damage. Lala Barina is a really cool design. Great, yeah, I'd say it's a great design even. Good for teaching positionals. Really cool gear and equipment. I think it's also good at parries and blocking and stuff. Also introduces us to status like paralysis. Kongala is our funny fart monkey with funny small details that make it all the better. I can't wait for them to make an event quest where this dude is just like 5 times the size of normal. Balahara is cool, introduces us to using screamer pods to force him out the ground. Our first Leviathan as well. Doshiguma is a good intro to large dung pods and has an interesting mechanic with the alpha version, which isn't reused, but I think it's a good tutorial for just like, it's a good make sure you're wounding tutorial because it opens its wounds when it gets enraged. Pompolo is weird and looks funny. He always destroys my camps and is pretty good at just sort of teaching the player, oh, the monster can do attacks from range. Sort of like uses the environment almost. Nasilla is our cool returning Spooder monster. Hatchlings are a great new detail. And it introduces our goat Rove. Hirobami I feel a bit weird about. I think it's a cool design, but it didn't wow me in any way. It just kind of feels there. But I think the way it floats is cool. Iankuku, our great iconic chicken, introduces us to high rank. Jacipros, also another great iconic chicken with funny flash moves. And I've seen the fake dead kill people, which I think is really funny. Rathian, kind of expect her to return, right? I don't have too much to say about her, but her fiery attacks look like they're a lot more threatening than before. They feel it and they look it, which I think is great. Yeah. Okay, now our mid-tier stronger monsters, you know, a bit threatening. Jurakan is our great new monkey monster. Its moves are really well done. It gives it a somewhat explosive personality, which fits, right? And it's a really fun fight. That's really all I have to say. Good monster. All the Guardians are a really cool way at reintroducing older monsters in a unique fashion, like sort of tweaking their fights, adding ways to wound, stuff like that. Also just like altering currently existing moves. But very cool, very cool. I hope they make more Guardian monsters in future updates and Master Rank, which I'm sure they will. But very cool concept. Zuru is one of the coolest monsters in the game. Very cool lore, ecology, design, and fight. I hope to see more of Zuwu. I hope they do some sort of variant or subspecies of it. Rathalos is amazing in this game. They've made his moves feel more threatening, sort of like Rathian. He does actually have new flying moves as well. And they brought back, well, they kind of like remade a new theme for him using the OG OST from the first game, which is amazing. Like, I fucking love it. Gravios is also a huge improvement from the other games. Like, you still ding off him a bit, right? But like, his belly takes damage, and he's a lot bigger now, so it's a lot easier to hit. So yeah, Gravios actually good. Blangonga, I'm happy to see it back, but it feels like too much of a pushover. So I'm kind of hoping they do something about that, because my memories of that monster are just like getting destroyed. So hopefully they somehow make it harder. Okay, now to the strongest and apex monsters in the game. Ufduna is a really good design aesthetically, but I kind of feel like it just flops around too much. Like, yeah, I know, it flops about too much in its fight. Other than that, I think it's really cool. I think Raydal is absolute peak. Like, OST is amazing, sound design, the fight. It's amazing. I don't really think there's anything bad about Raydal. I guess I'm a bit sad that in all its cutscenes it kind of gets bullied by Arkfeld. New Udra, great new cephalod monster. Definitely think it's a memorable fight and design. And it has a funny pin attack. Don't really have many problems with it. Jin Dahad is absolute cinema. Insanely cool monster, crazy good fight in OST. I'd say this is a top tier monster. This is one of the best new monsters in the game. Arkfeld, and I'm going to include Guardian Arkfeld here. Really great flagship monster. I'll go further into detail on these I think soon, but just for now, insanely cool fight, design and sound design, all this stuff. Also really cool gear. Zoshia is amazing. I'm kind of sad we could only do it once, start the game. I assume there'll be something where we can redo it and farm gear and all this. So I look forward to that, I guess. But like, amazing quest, amazing monster. Gurmaga is also back, and I think it's really well improved. I think it uses a lot more frenzy attacks, and it doesn't like just run about all the time, which is like a problem I had with it in Sunbreak. It just ran and ran and ran, like charge attacks and stuff. I think now it's really good. Okay, so yeah, I specifically want to talk about Guardian Arkfeld and Soshia. Guardian Arkfeld, crazy good fight cinematically. Like the story, the music, oh my god. The OST is so good in this fight. And like the special animation it has towards the environment, it just really immerses you into it. It gives off a clear personality and theme. I hope we can somehow refight it, because it is just a spectacle of a fight. And then Zoshia is basically just a huge collaboration of Black Dragon fights, and has one of the hardest pre-fight cutscenes in the series. It is definitely a treat of a last monster in low rank, and like it really surprised me that was at the end of low rank. Like low rank. Like when I beat it, I thought I just beat high rank, but no, I just beat low rank, and I was like, what the fuck? So like, oh, it's so good. It's so good. So I think comparing Arkfeld to other flagships, I think it's amazing. You know, I was kind of concerned at first, because I'd say the design didn't pull me in as much as stuff like Nurg and Malzeno, but after seeing it in game, fighting it, learning the story, this is great. It's up there. I'd say it is up there with those two. I think all the monsters in this game are just, I think they're amazing overall, even the ones I've criticized. I do wish the roster was larger on release, but you know how it is with Monster Hunter games. They only get better, and we have a lot more to come anyway, so you just kind of have to stay tuned for it. Let's talk music and sound effects. Straight to it. The music in this game is insanely good. Like they knew what they were doing. I think the OSTs that really stand out to me are Raidao, Jindahad, Guarding Arkfeld, especially, I've already mentioned, Zoshia, Suja, which is the settlement, and normal Arkfeld. But like I said, Guardian Arkfeld is something special, man. The OST that is based around Wyveria and its monsters is also just super good and unique, because they tend to have like a synthy sound to them, and it kind of feels like it doesn't feel natural. It feels very alien, and that fits the story there. So like it just makes sense, and it locks you in. Like when I first got there and I heard that music, I was like, this ain't right. There's something wrong here. I was like, it was good. It was good. I can't wait to hear some of the future OST in the game. The sound effects also really great. Some old monsters like Rathlos, they have really good new sound effects, such as his roar. I'd say his roar isn't as iconic now, but I still think it sounds really good. Some of the ambience in the environment is crazy as well. Like I remember when I was fishing up at the dam in the forest, you can just like hear birds whistling, water moving, all this stuff. It's like it really makes you feel like you're in that environment fishing. It's like it's oddly charming and hypnotizing. I really like it. I think the audio team, like sound effects and music, they really stepped up in Wilds. So it's gonna be really good hearing new stuff come out. Another thing I want to address is Endgame. Endgame on release Monster Hunter, it's usually just Talisman Deco Farm, and it's not too different here. However, we have this new system called artisan weapons. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of them. I think they should have been a thing in a future title update. Especially like, they look so fucking ugly, and we don't have layered weapons. So I'm just, I mean, just use whatever weapon, right? But if you want the big numbers, you kind of just have to craft them, and other weapons feel redundant. Layered armor though, being here on release, is huge, because I just want to farm all of it. I wonder why we have layered armor but not layered weapons. Like, so weird to me. I think I think that's the biggest appeal of the endgame for me, farming the layered armor. So definitely got some grinding to do. But the majority of the weapons and armor look really good. It's legit just artisan looks shit compared to the others, and it's the best thing. It's so weird. And then as for decorations, there's a new system now. However, it's still going to be grindy because you can already get decorations with 2 skills, and to min-max you will want them like in a certain priority, which is going to be some crazy RNG. Overall, I think the end game is somewhat decent. I think grinding layered armor is fun, but grinding artisan and optimal stuff, it's like 2 to 3 monsters, and it's just stale because it's just artisan. But as I said, Monster Hunter game on release, it will get better with updates. Now as for performance, it was pretty good for me, and I'm on PS5. Most of the frame drops, they happen in places it didn't matter, like loading into a base camp or something. I've heard of lots of bugs in the game, specifically on PC as well, and part of me does think that a company as big as Capcom working on this game for like 7 years, it shouldn't be this bad on PC, man. On PS5 I think it was good, but all these like this PC performance stuff, I know Capcom are known for it, but they're a multi-billion-dollar company. I think it's unacceptable. They need to do something about it. It is ridiculous. Alright, so overall, if I was to give a review in numbers, it would probably be like a 9 to 9.3 out of 10, or 93 out of 100, whatever you prefer. I think it is worth a 9 out of 10 minimum, but I wouldn't give it a 10 because stuff like performance. It's kind of hard to rate a Monster Hunter game on release because they're basically live service until the next game drops, so it doesn't reflect the end product, they just get better. But I can easily, at least for me, see this game becoming a 10 in the future. For me personally, I'd say it's a 10, but objectively, I give it a 9 or a 9.3. The general flaws, I think, that bring it down for me are performance. That should be a big one. And I think there's a lack of vision or requirement on some of its key design decisions, like 2 weapons, open world, like stuff like that. They don't feel fully realized. Also, fuck artisan weapons. Other than that, I think everything else is pretty amazing. Actually, okay, monsters could be a bit tankier, but I don't think that's it's a problem, but it depends on the player, you know. But I can't wait to see future additions into this game. I would 100% recommend this game to anyone thinking of buying it. And if you're still concerned, just wait for more updates. There's no rush, because Monster Hunter games just get better and better during their life cycle. Like, look at Iceborne and Sunbreak. They were crazy times to be playing those games. If you're a Monster Hunter player, or a new Monster Hunter player even, this is a great game to start on as well. Other than that, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I plan to upload a lot of content for this game, and also stream it, so stick around and get grinding yourself. Other than that, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time. Peace. Also, hashtag wudwudnation, especially Rove.